So welcome to Cabinet, colleagues. Item 1, apologies for absence. I've not been notified of any. Thank you. Item 2 is urgent business. I've not been notified of any. No, thank you. Item 3 is declarations of interest. Do any members have any interest that they want to declare on any matter on the agenda? No? Okay, if something comes to light later, just declare at that point. Item 4, public question time. I've not received notice of any. No? Thank you. Item 5 is minutes of the Cabinet meeting held on the 12th of February 2024. Do Cabinet agree the minutes? Agreed. Thank you. Item 6 is the proposal for use of additional smoke-free generation funding. Over to you, Councillor Brownridge.
Thank you very much, Chair. So basically, we've been granted some additional money to spend on anti-smoking programme. Now, as you know, our anti-smoking programme is managed by ABL Health on our behalf, and they are actually doing a very, very good job. They've been very successful. We have this additional amount based on the percentage of smokers in the borough. And the condition is that we have to spend what we've already committed. We have to protect that, and this is additional money on top. So it will be targeted towards our most at-risk groups, which are all the ones you'd expect, really. People with poor mental health, long-term conditions, looked after children, manual workers. There's also a very interesting point here that they've been granted funding to actually provide vapes to help those people give up smoking, which is really constructive. And that money will be spent on additional resources to supporting those priority groups, support the swap to stop schemes, and mostly important, flexible approach for people, so more one-to-one counselling, so they'll actually have consistent long-term help. Just to reassure you, our other priority group, which is pregnant women, aren't instanced in this report because they are funded separately. So that work will still go on. This is additional. So I highly recommend this because it will have a very good outcome, I'm confident. Thank you, Chair.
I agree entirely. Does any Cabinet member wish to speak? No? So do we agree the recommendations set out in the report? Agreed. Thank you. So item 7 is Oldham Community Leisure Utility Benchmarking Report. Councillor Dean.
Yes, I would recommend Cabinet to approve this. As you know, there was some good news in the sense that we did get £500,000 from Sports England to actually subsidise the utility costs, which are extraordinarily high for sporting facilities such as swimming pools and various things like that. We are working with OCL to mitigate the costs. As an example, we're trying to get all the swimming pools covered to reduce costs and working on other measures as well. So I would ask members to agree with the recommendations of the report.
Thank you. I think there's going to be further recommendations that we're discussing in Part B, aren't we? So are we referring that to Part B, the recommendations to agree? Yep. Okay. So item 8 is the approval to extend the parking contract with NSL, which is my report. So our parking enforcement contract with NSL is due to expire in June. So this report is seeking approval to extend the contract for 12 months to give the team time to work with industry experts on parking matters to conduct a review of the service to see whether it would be worthwhile bringing parking enforcement in-house or to carry on using external contracts. So this 12 months is basically giving us, the extension time is giving us time to do that properly and then review with parking matters and then to implement the recommendations of the review, whichever way that goes, as the recommendations may potentially require full council approval at some point. We'll be looking at using technology and innovations where possible as part of that review to increase cost effectiveness, efficiency, and provide better services for our residents and to ensure that we are constantly providing better value and best value for money. It also actually gives us an opportunity as well to look at our wider parking strategy and how that best supports our town and district centre centres and supports local businesses. So the 12-month extension will give us an opportunity to do that work, but actually also gives an opportunity to review the wider parking strategy across the town centre and Oldham. So does any member wish to speak on that report? No? And we'll consider the recommendations of that at item 17. Thanks. Item 9 is Gallery Oldham priority maintenance work. Again, this is my report, so it's seeking approval to accept a successful bid from the Museum Estates and Development Fund, which is run by Arts Council, and to fund that is primarily to fund the maintenance work that's needed at Gallery Oldham over the next few years. It's really, really important to us that Gallery Oldham is kept in the best conditions. Up until last week, the gallery hosted LS Lowry's Going to the Match for almost 3 months. And that was a success, and that was just one of the 5 venues across Greater Manchester chosen actually to host the iconic painting as it went on tour from its home at the Lowry in Salford. It does serve as a really, really important cultural and educational asset in Oldham, so it's vital we carry out this work so that we can continue for the usage of that for families across Oldham and beyond, boosting footfall and wider spend in the town centre. These are really, really significant buildings and assets that we have, and we're quite privileged to have so many buildings of heritage in Oldham and sites that attract people from further than Oldham. And I think that this is really, really important to make sure that we maintain it so that we can continue to be proud of it and have the kind of usage that we have. And it does support local people, because people don't just come in, go to the gallery and then go home. Then going into the town centre or like looking at other assets or other sites or other tourist locations. And we're quite rich in that regard. So I'm seeking approval from colleagues for this report. Does any member wish to speak? Councillor Brownridge.
Well, only to confirm that I think this is a really important building. I was horrified to find it was 20 years old. I couldn't believe it was so old. But, you know, as you say, it is, and I know since the tram went in, we get people coming from a far afield across Greater Manchester and beyond. They come from the Lowry, in fact, to come down here. So it does attract people. It doesn't just provide service to people in Oldham, but people beyond, and boosts our reputation. So very important that we don't let it fall apart, definitely.
Thank you, Councillor Brownridge. Anybody else?
It's 20 years old, the build. We've only got about 2 or 3 years to run on the PFI contract, and the building then comes to us and saves the council about £3 million a year, I think.
Absolutely. Okay, actually, we're going to discuss and approve the recommendations in item 18. Okay. So item 10 is Oldham Green New Deal Delivery Partnership. Over to you, Councillor Jabbar.
Thank you, Chair. So this report is asking the council to accept a £10.2 million grants from the government in relation to the council's Green New Deal strategy. Obviously, it's a really exciting report, and I think, Chair, that this will enable for us to take a giant step forward in delivering our Green New Deal strategy and also our net zero strategy. So if I can just spend a couple of minutes giving the details. So the 8.7 million is from the Green Heat Network Fund. That's to fund our low carbon district heating. We've got £1 million to spend on revenue. This will include taking it to the REBA stage 3, as well as doing some feasibility study, including the borehole testing to make sure the project is viable. And then the £7.7 million is for the capital work. We hope that once we've identified a partner, then we will pass on that funding to them. In total, our current estimate is that the low carbon district heating will cost around £27 million. So truly, Chair, this is an exciting programme. In relation to the second grant, which is £1.5 million, and this is from DESNES and is for the local network Zero Accelerator programme through the Greater Manchester Combined Authority Our share of that is £1.5 million. This will help us to find a delivery partner in the same way that we found a delivery partner for our regeneration program. This is for all the low carbon and green strategy. I'm told, Chair, that within GM, we're the first authority to actually secure this kind of money and to actually have a plan to secure a delivery partner, and nationally we're the third. So genuinely, Chair, I think we're making excellent progress in this area, and this additional funding we had to apply for and go through a very rigorous process to secure the funding will put us in an absolutely fantastic position to deliver our commitment around climate change. I think, Chair, this doesn't happen by accident, and I want to put on record my thanks to the Chief Executive, Emma Barton, the Deputy Chief Executive, Paul Clifford, the Director of Economy, and of course Andy Hunt, who leads on this area. And I think they've done phenomenally well. If you look at the recent allocation that we received from government in this area, then it's certainly more than any of our neighbours. And with that, Chair, I'm happy to obviously answer any questions you may have, but I commend this report to you.
Thank you, Councillor Jabbar. Does any member wish to speak? No, so I think you should also acknowledge the contribution you've made to this agenda on the whole. You've been passionate about this for as long as I can remember. And I know there's like an internal private joke about how enthusiastic you are about this agenda, but actually it's really, really important. You know, it's the biggest issue, one of the biggest issues we've got globally. And I think you've done really well. But actually, of course, my thanks to the Chief Executive, the Deputy Chief Executive, and the Director of Economy, but actually Andy Hunt, who's one of our officers, is absolutely fantastic on this, way beyond other colleagues in his role, similar across GM, and the same enthusiasm that you both bring to this is really important and will bring us ahead of many local authorities, not just across GM, but across the country, I believe. So thank you so much for the work both you and Andy have done in this. Okay, so Cabinet again. Oh no, for this one, we're agreeing the recommendations of the report now. So do members agree with the recommendations set out in the report? Thank you, Councillor Jabbar. The next item is yours as well, and it's the awarding of enforcement agent services contracts.
Thank you, Chair. So this report is asking for authority to extend a contract for a 3-year period with an option of extending it for a further year after that expires. So the current contract expires at the end of March. So we're looking to renew the contract in relation to external enforcement agent service. So this is primarily council tax, business rates and sundry debts that we have to collect. It's a pretty straightforward, Chair. We're asking for delegated authority on this report. There's a part 2 in the closed session, but basically it's the 3 highest ranked bidders that we want to employ, give the contract to from 1st of April 2024.
Thank you, Councillor Jabbar. Does any member wish to speak on that report? No? Okay, well, we'll agree the recommendations at item 14. Item 12, again, yours, Councillor Jabbar, is the insurance tender process and award of the contract report.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So this report is basically dealing with our insurance. So our insurance current contract expires at the end of March, so we're looking for a new provider from April 2024. There's again second part to it, and we're asking you to give us delegated authority. I can just say, the Chair, that the officer, Victoria Gallagher, who heads this section, she's an absolutely brilliant officer. She's been able to find saving for us over the last few years. But I have to say as well that the insurance market is changing rapidly, and we won't be able to deliver the kind of savings that we've been able to find in this area previously. But I think if we could just manage the increase in a reasonable way, that would be great. But again, in the previous reports, I have thanked officer, but Vicky does need recognising for the work that she does, and she is absolutely an expert in this area. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Jabbar. Does any member wish to speak on that report? No? Again, I agree. Vicky is a fantastic officer and she does need the acknowledgement. And we're grateful for what she does in the organisation, because her role is one that people don't necessarily engage with unless you're in that service. So absolutely right to mention her tonight. Okay, so we consider the recommendations of that in item 15, don't we? Yeah, so item 13 is exclusion of the press and public. Thank you.